Probably need the mic, but try not to hide behind the podium. Thanks everybody for coming. It's really lovely to see you and to see some familiar faces here today. As Kay mentioned, my name is Barbara, otherwise known as the Time Tamer. And that's my business name, truly. And I assist people to maximise their time and minimise their stress. In a nutshell, that's what I'm focused on doing. So Kay mentioned that I do professional development training, I do coaching, and work with individuals or teams of people to try and make them more productive and less stressed. So my talk today, I'm only going to talk to you, I'm not going to bore you, I'm only going to talk for about 15-20 minutes. And the idea with these lunches, with the Women in Business lunches, is to tell you a little bit of my career story, but also I'm going to share with you the stakeholder engagement, how I went from classroom to cruise ship. So there's two parts to the talk that I'm going to share with you today. Now, I also love using social media, so if any of you are tweeting or Facebooking or checking in, use the hashtag TimeTamer, could you please? If I say something that you would like to share, and I encourage you to do that, I will also find you. So if any of you are into that, some of you are going, hashtag what? Okay, so to start off, to share with you a little bit of my story, I need to talk to you about my career. I need to explain to you that I actually grew up on a farm. And the reason that relates to my career is because I was a fifth generation of a farming family. And I was an only child, and after me, my mum couldn't have any more children. So I was pretty much determined from very young what my career was going to be. I was going to be a farming girl, I was going to inherit the farm. So I needed to make a decision at an early age about what kind of career I was going to have that would incorporate farming. So I thought, okay, I can be a vet. I can be a landscape photographer. So these were the kind of things that I thought about. And somewhere in my mind, as you can imagine with little girls, I dreamed of being something else. I dreamed of another world, and I'd throw coins in a wishing well and go, maybe someday, what if, there might be an opportunity for something else to happen. And my parents divorced, and when my parents separated, my world opened up just a little bit, and we moved into a city, and I changed schools. And in the school, when I was at the school, they had an announcement that the local television station was auditioning for children to host a children's television program. And I thought, what if, I'll just give it a shot. So I go to these auditions, and it's like cattle yard, just thousands of kids, all in this massive big auditorium to audition these kids for this kids program. And they, long story short, they narrowed it down. They had clusters of people doing things, and they whittled it down until they got to 10 children, and I was one of those 10. And we went to the TV studio and to the TV station, and for me, a little farm girl, it was like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. It was like this massive big building with fences around it, and this man walked out like Willy Wonka to come and open the gate and take us into the studio, into the TV station. And we walked through the bowels of the TV station right down to the studio. I don't know if you've ever been in a TV studio, but it's a really surreal experience. It's really weird. So we did our audition, and I got it. I was one of 4 that was hosted this children's television program. So that's Kay, that's why I've had 20 years, I was 14. That was my first job. And that was a surreal experience as well. I had people coming up to me in the street wanting my autograph and recognising me, so that was a really weird experience. Then my mum moved, and we moved to a city. I was in boarding school, but we moved to a city where the local school there was specialising in performing arts. And she said, well, Barbara, you're on this path, why don't you investigate it? So we made some inquiries, and this school specialised in theatre, dance and music, and it was really specialised in the sense that people that graduated from that high school then went on to the likes of NIDA or Victorian College of the Arts, so it was really prestige and very competitive. So when we made inquiries, they said, look, you're year 11, year 12 at this point, There are other students that go to the normal school that's attached. They have priority, there's a waiting list. You can audition, but don't like your chances. Guess what? I got in. I auditioned and I got into the school, and it was an amazing education, one of the best educations I've ever had. My world was really opening up. This what if was opening up doors for me. And I decided I didn't want to just be on the other side of the camera. I wanted to direct films. I wanted to take my story worldwide. I didn't want to just be in theatre. I wanted to go global. So I decided that I was going to become a director, and that's what I was determined to do. One thing that I learned in the performing arts training was that actors get no's all the time. They go for an audition, sorry, you're not right for the part. Go for another audition, sorry, you're not right for the part. So I learned that if you are really committed to something, you don't take no for an answer. You keep going, you keep on that path. So I decided, I researched what film schools there were in Australia to set me up in this career, and at the time there were two. There was one in Melbourne and there was one in Sydney. In Alice Springs, a lot of the filmmakers that come through here predominantly come from the Sydney one. It's known as Afters. The one that I chose was in Melbourne, and at the time it was Swinburne, but it later became Victorian College of the Arts. And I said, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going to go to set up my career in the film industry. So I was on a roll. Yeah, I'm going to get this. So at 17, I decided I was moving to Melbourne. I was going to get into that film school. Yeah, sorted, know what I'm doing. So I applied, and I didn't get in. I'm like, oh, okay. So anyway, I moved to Melbourne and was determined to do what I needed to get into that film school. Wasn't going to take no for an answer. The next year, applied again, did my application. No worries, got this sorted. I didn't get in. I know. Oh. So what I decided to do was determined to pursue what I needed to do to get a career in this industry. So I did work experience. I volunteered on the student shoots from the film school to find out what they were doing. I did short courses in film production, video production. I did everything that I could do. And I did some work experience with a producer who was a graduate of the film school, and he gave me a gem that I've carried with me since then. He said to me, the film school wants successful stories. They want to be able to say, see that person over there that's incredibly successful? They came through our film school. So they want to know that you are going to be a success, and then they will take you, because that's what they're looking for. They're not necessarily looking for talent, they're looking for the kudos. So that was my approach and my mindset of applying for the film school. My mindset was, I'm going to make it in this career with or without you. It's to your benefit to have me, and I'll benefit if I go, but I'm going to do it anyway. And with that approach, I got into an interview stage. Now, 1,000 people apply for this film school each year and they accept 10. So in the interview, that was my attitude. I'm going to be successful, and it'd be helpful to come through your film school, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I got in. So that was an amazing experience, and I got a degree in film and television, and had a wonderful time working through that film school. And when I graduated, the dean got up to make a speech about the graduates, and she said to everyone there, the film industry is incredibly difficult for women. It's very difficult for women to work in the industry, to make a name for themselves, and a lot of them give up. And tonight we've got a graduate who, in the first time in the history of the film school, was 30 years old at the time, first time in the history of the school, a woman who applied more than once, because most women don't. That's the first time. I turned to my friend and I said, what is she talking about? And my friend went, you idiot. Oh, okay. Because it just didn't seem like a big deal at the time. So what I learnt about working in the film industry, and from that experience, is it's not necessarily what you know, but who you know. It's about those relationships, about getting the right information and connecting with people. It's not necessarily about the talent. It's about being in the right place at the right time. Have you heard that before? Yeah? So back then, before we had email newsletters and social media and things like that, we didn't have all that. We used to get paper newsletters in the mail and magazines to find out what's happening in the industry. I would just scour those publications to find out what was happening in the film industry. And I'd ring up the producers and say, have you got any work? Have you got anything happening? And they'd say, ring back in June. We're going to start production then. So I had a book, because we didn't have the same technology. That was my customer, it was my customer relationships system, where I would keep a list of these people and make a note in my diary of when I had to call them back. And that was how I maintained that relationship to be able to get my foot in the door and get the work. And it was personal. You're probably wondering, well, how did you end up in Alice Springs? It was personal crisis that led me here many years ago. And I came to Alice Springs for a holiday, and you've heard this story. I left 7 years later, married and with kids. I came for a 6-week holiday and I left later. So I had a great time working in the film industry here, and the last job that I had was working as a series producer for the Nunapas. Do any of you remember the Nunapa language documentaries that used to be on Impaja? Some of you oldies might remember it. I was producing those. And when I left Alice Springs, I decided to leave the film industry. It had served me well, and it was a really big decision, but it was time for me to do something different and embark on something different. And I decided to leave it behind. But what I learned was, like Kay was mentioning, is about the skills that I could transfer, the stakeholder relationships. So, okay, I've spent, at that time it was about 20 years, 25 years in the industry. What skills have I got that I can transfer? Well, I know how to connect people. I know how to put ideas down on paper and put a proposal together. I know how to draw funds together for a common project. I know how to put my ideas across. So what can I do? What kind of work can I do that will transpose? So I went and worked for a charity, doing community relations and connecting the community and raising funds for a cause, for this child protection cause, and finding common ground and bringing people together on a project. So you can see I transferred those skills, and it was about connecting people and bringing people together. And then I wanted to leave that job, and I went into a similar job, which was working for an entrepreneur. Now, he had a product that was quite new and quite innovative, but the challenge was educating the public and the community on trying something new or doing something new. So I had to go out and make connections and raise awareness and bring the community together. So I became a prolific networker. I was out there networking all the time to be able to create the relationships. And while I was working with the entrepreneur, he actually gave me heaps of opportunities. I worked in marketing, I worked managing the database, a lot of the stuff I now share with businesses, but I learned sales. And this was probably one of the most powerful lessons for me working with him, because I learned it's not the art of selling, it's the art of listening that's most effective in sales. Because I learned at that point that it was about asking questions of people, like I probably do with all of you, the people that I do know in this room. It's listening to what the needs are of the people in front of me and finding solutions for them, solving their problems. So when I was networking, I'd have this person over here that I knew, and this person over here that I knew, that each had a problem. He wanted to sell, she wanted to find a product that would solve the problem, and I would bring them together. There would be no gain for me from that, but there'd be immense gain for them. So I became of value in my community because I was connecting people. I was creating that stakeholder engagement and relationship. It was about giving value, but being of value to people. And so that's kind of the ethos that I live by. I want to work from a place of integrity, of honesty, of authenticity. And if you go on my website, that's very much what my story is about, is operating from that space that allows me to bring people together for their benefit, to find solutions and solve people's problems. So it sort of leads on to that whole stakeholder stuff that I was going to talk about. What I do is find a community of people that I want to connect with, find my people, So like us here today, we're a group of women. Joining the chamber is an opportunity for me to find my community, find my people. When I was in Brisbane, I was part of a mastermind group, which was fantastic. It was a group of fellow women who were in business and entrepreneurs, and we'd come together to be transparent. And sometimes we just rock up in our trackies and no makeup and go, yeah, I'm a businesswoman, but today I just don't want to. And we'd say things like, I'm having trouble marketing this, or I just can't work out this. And we'd share ideas and support each other, and it was a fantastic environment for me to be able to share with other like-minded people. And I still Skype with those ladies in Brisbane. So now what I do in Alice Springs is very much focus on finding the people that I can connect to and share, not necessarily for my own gain, obviously I get value, but to give value as well, to contribute to other people's needs as well. So I, for example, there's like a little mastermind group that I have here with like-minded women. And in that group, we talk about business and some of our challenges. One of the ladies in that group is a master of connecting with the world wide. She has 30,000 followers on Twitter and is an expert at connecting people and supporting business people. Ali, if you want to put your hand up, Ali, and break the phone. There she is over there. So I learned from her an immense amount of stuff. And then on the other side of that is, how do I connect with the community? Kay said, Alice Springs is great for networking. Alice Springs is brilliant at that face-to-face networking. So how do I create the relationships within the community? And again, in that mastermind group is Carmel. Carmel, you put your hand up. Carmel's up there. Carmel has her own consultancy as well. So we're all consultants, but we're very different, and we share ideas from each other. Carmel's brilliant at connecting with local community and bringing the right people together. Everywhere I go in Alice Springs and someone's talking about accounting or business coaching, I go, oh, you should talk to Carmel. It's like, oh, again? Really? So it's about finding your people, finding the people that you can bounce off with, and I strongly encourage you to do it. There's a couple of women here too that are part of the Alice Springs Women's Network. There's a few of you. Anyone going to put your hand up? Yeah, over here. This is a new group that started up as well. Started on Facebook, but we just get together on the weekend. Some are in business, some are working for businesses, some are just mums that want to connect with intelligent women and have a conversation rather than babies or children. So it's an opportunity for us to, again, to bounce off each other and share ideas and learn. So, it brings me, I guess you're asking, okay, well, how did you go from the classroom? Because one of the things that I do, again, in terms of those relationships is CDU. So there's the CDU ladies. Do you want to put your hands up too? Yeah? No? Little cluster over here. One of those relationships I have as well is, again, that partnership. So I deliver training, Australian Institute of Management training, 4 CDU short courses. So there's 3 in that partnership there. CDU, AIM and me. And it's about us leveraging off each other in that community. So going from that classroom to cruise ship, how did I do that? Everyone wants to know. Everyone asks me, how did you end up speaking on a cruise ship in international waters? Well, when I was in Brisbane, again, it was that whole adding value. I was constantly going out and speaking to women's groups and women's business groups for no charge, to share my knowledge, to empower them. And one of the ladies that I stayed connected with and maintained that relationship said, hey, any of my speakers out there want to go and speak on a cruise ship? Mm-hmm. And so I revisited that idea of, well, what if? What if? You never know. I'll throw my hat in the ring. What's the worst that can happen? And so I got it. I got that opportunity, and which was fantastic. Amazing 2-week holiday through the islands and speaking as well. So it was an awesome experience, and it was just about creating those meaningful relationships and giving value without the expectation of something in return. So, which I would like to share with you guys now an event. This is my plug. I've got an event coming up next week. If you are interested in the stress management, this is an opportunity for me once again to share with you what I've learned in studying and learning about stress. Obviously I've worked in stressful industries and stressful environments. So I've got an event next Thursday the 8th of December at the Chamber. The Chamber's kindly given me the space to be able to do that. It's from 5:30. Now, if you're interested, just go to my website or you can come and talk to me, timetamer.com.au. It's $25. So you're welcome to come along and join me. I'd love to see you there. Thank you, music. And it's an opportunity for you guys to really transform your stress into a source of power and regain your power. Now, in the interest of giving you a what if, I want to give you something. I want to give you a gift. I don't want anything to gain from it. What I'm going to give you will not have my name on it, will not have my website, will not have a phone number. But it's a what if. I want to give you a what if. If you have a look under your bread and butter plates, there's a what if for you. Everyone's got one. Thank you, everybody, for coming to join me today. Hope you've enjoyed my talk, and I'd love to catch up with you afterwards.